The War of 1812. September and October 1813. The war thus far. In early September, the British garrison at Fort Malden, near present-day Amherstburg, Ontario, was in dire straits. Basically, they were starving. As the Americans controlled Lake Erie, nothing could get through. Thus, the British commander, Major General Henry Proctor, urged Royal Navy Commander Robert Barclay to engage the American squadron in order to reopen the supply lines. Although facing a critical lack of seamen to operate his vessels, Barclay weighed anchor at 3 p.m. on September 9th in order to seek combat. The ships under his command were Detroit, Queen Charlotte, Lady Prevost, General Hunter, Little Bolt, and Chippewa. On the afternoon of the 10th, the British would engage the Americans off their anchorage at Put-in Bay, Ohio. Put-in Bay, Ohio. The American squadron consisted of the Lawrence, Niagara, Caledonia, Ariel, Somers, Somers, Scorpion, Porcupine, Tigris, and Trippe, Trippe, under the command of Master Commandant Oliver Hazard Perry. Thus, the British were outnumbered in ships, in experienced crew, and in firepower. Nevertheless, Barclay's ships did far better than might have been expected, disabling the American flagship Lawrence and forcing Perry to shift his command to the Niagara. But in spite of this early success, numbers count, and the Americans ultimately prevailed. The destruction of the British squadron will open the door for the American invasion of Upper Canada and force Proctor and his ally Tecumseh to retreat. On September 25th, the British brig of war HMS Boxer was captured by the American brig of war USS Enterprise after a 45-minute fight in which the British commander Samuel Blythe was killed. An 18-pound cannonball tore off his left arm and spilled his intestines all over the deck, while his American counterpart, Lieutenant William Burroughs, died a more lingering death after being hit in the thigh by a musket ball. The American victory may have been the result of better discipline. The crew of the Enterprise were well trained, while Blythe, although a brave officer, seemed more concerned with prize money and financial gain than in running a tight ship. In one of those ironies peculiar to this war, both captains were given an elaborate funeral in Portland, Maine, an event attended by both crews and by everybody in the surrounding vicinity. The triumph of the Enterprise was a great propaganda victory for the American side, but did nothing to change the total blockade of the U.S. seaboard by the Royal Navy. On September 28th occurs the naval engagement that has gone down in history as the Burlington Races. Most accounts give the impression that the American squadron under Isaac Chauncey chased the British under Sir James Yeo up and down Lake Ontario. But this was a serious military engagement, not a sporting event. The issue, as explained by the late Robert Malcomson in his book Lords of the Lake, The Naval War on Lake Ontario, 1812 to 1814, lay in the way the opposing ships were armed. British vessels under Yeo had to get within close range for their fire to be effective, while the Americans, under Chauncey, could batter their opponents at long range. Thus, what looked like a race or chase from the shore was the attempt by both squadrons to get into a position that would maximize their firepower. Still, in this engagement, Chauncey may have given more than he received, damaging Yo's flagship the Wolf, but bad weather forced the Americans to break off. This will not be a decisive action like the Battle of Lake Erie, and the Wolf and Yo will live to fight another day. According to Wikipedia, on September 26, quote, General William Henry Harrison lands in Canada, Detroit liberated, end of quote. But according to author Sandy Antal, writing in A Wampum Denied, Proctor's War of 1812, Harrison actually lands at Bar Point, 3 miles south of Emmitsburg, at 3 p.m. on September 27th. In any event, Detroit is liberated, and Proctor and his native allies are forced to retreat eastwards, where they will eventually make a stand at Moravian Town on the River Thames, near present-day Thamesville, Ontario, at 4 p.m. on October the 5th. Proctor is outnumbered 3-1, and a charge by mounted Kentucky militia caused British resistance to collapse. Tecumseh is killed, and Proctor narrowly avoids capture. But he will not be able to avoid censure for his role in what has become known as the Battle of the Thames. According to Wikipedia, a court-martial will find Proctor guilty in 1815 of managing the retreat badly, failing to secure stores, and poor troop disposition at the Battle of the Thames, effectively ending his career. Commander Robert Barclay will also face a court-martial for the loss of his squadron at Lake Erie, but in his case, the badly maimed sailor, he'd already lost an arm prior to the Battle of Lake Erie, and he received further injuries during that battle. In his case, the badly maimed sailor will be acquitted. In his book, A Wampum Denied, Proctor's War of 1812, author Sandy Antal makes a compelling case that both Proctor and Barclay were badly neglected in terms of men and supplies by their superiors, Sir George Prevost, Sir James Yo, and Baron de Rottenburg, all of whom largely escaped blame for the defeats. Thus, September and October see the British on the sharp receiving end of American aggression, but the fortunes of war are always in flux. On October 26, a force of 1,530 men, 1,530 men, under Charles de Salaberry, a French-Canadian officer in the British Army, defeats a force of 2,600 American regulars under Major General Wayne Hampton, whose forces are part of a two-pronged invasion meant to capture Montreal. While the victory was not as one-sided as it has gone down in Canadian folklore, where 300 Canucks supposedly beat 7,500 Yanks, the reversal was enough to convince Hampton to give up and go home, which he does. But what happened to the other American prong, a force of 8,000 under Major General James Wilkinson? Stay tuned. Thus, September and October 1813 see a series of United States victories on both land and water, culminating in a serious defeat, which leads an American army to give up. As these monthly videos have received poor engagement, I've opted for a more formal approach with this upload, more of a quick and dirty approach. So let me know if you liked it and if you think it's an improvement on the way I was doing it before. And please feel free to comment on any of the issues discussed during this video. If this is your first visit to 1812 channel, my name is Warren and I'm your host. I'm not a historian, nor am I an expert on the War of 1812, as you can tell. Instead, I'm a student wishing to learn about the conflict. Each month for the roughly 3 years of the war, I will outline the major events. I will also review a book on the war. Or at least I'll try to. At least I'll attempt it. At least I'll think about it. Did I miss anything? Any errors? Then let me know in the comments below. So please let me hear from you. I'd like to turn this channel into a discussion group about the War of 1812, but that will only work and the channel will only improve with your input. So please, let's hear from you, dear listeners. When the barrage lifts, cheers. LOL. I meant earlier to say an informal approach, not a formal approach in narrating today's video. And pictures used in today's video, courtesy of Greg M., while the music was The Descent by that patron of the internet, Kevin MacLeod. Thanks for listening.